All right, and the other show that I wanted to preview here is obviously, I think, arguably a bigger one than anything that Star Wars is going to do for a while, including Skeleton Crew, even though I am excited for Skeleton Crew. But this is monumental. This is the start of the new DC universe. This is Man of Steel again, even though at that time we didn't even know Man of Steel was going to be the start of the DCEU. And so it's monumental. Creature Commandos coming out on December 5th is the start of something big. Whether or not Creature Commandos itself is, super important to the whole DCU storyline or, has a ton of it, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's just what it represents of being the start of the brand new DC universe. And for that, I am actually quite excited because, again, I personally, I know we haven't revisited the DCEU in a long time. Don't worry, I have episodes ready to go. I'm just, waiting for a time when it's a little bit slower. I thought there's still some stuff to talk about here in the Thanksgiving season, but during the Christmas season, I'll probably release a few of those episodes as we get back to the DCEU rewatch. But, I wasn't a huge fan, I'm going to be honest, of a lot of the projects in the DCEU, even though I knew that they had a lot of potential. But I just think that having something fresh, having something new, and having both Marvel and DC functioning at such a high level, and hopefully Marvel gets back to the level they were during the Infinity Saga, and hopefully DC gets to that level, that really consistently high level that they used to be at, or I guess not even the DCEU, but just the Batman universe level, or the Dark Knight universe level. I'm hoping that they can also get back to the level, or can get to the level that Marvel was at, when they were firing on all cylinders. But Creature Commandos represents the beginning of that, right? If Creature Commandos is really bad, I think it is what it is, but I think if Superman is really bad, and I don't think that is very likely, but I'm hoping that that's not the case. But if it is the case, then I think that we're going to be in some trouble. But hopefully we don't get to that point. So here are, just like I did with Skeleton Crew, 3 hopes and 3 predictions I have for Creature Commandos. So the first hope that I have for Creature Commandos, and this might be a more personal one, honestly, because I would imagine some people actually might think the opposite of what I'm about to say. But I've said this before when I was reacting to the trailers for Creature Commandos. I am hoping this is not going to be too similar to Suicide Squad, the concept at least of Suicide Squad. And I say this as somebody who really did quite enjoy James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. But I have said this over and over again. I am a little worried that Creature Commandos is James Gunn too much in his comfort zone. How many times, I'm not going to go through my whole spiel again, but just to quickly say, how many times have we seen James Gunn now at this point in the comic book movie space do the whole ragtag group of heroes that, they shouldn't belong together, but they do, and then they bond, and then some of them die, and then it's so sad. And Guardians of the Galaxy 1, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. The Suicide Squad, Peacemaker. He's doing the same kind of thing over and over again, and he's already done the Suicide Squad, and now he's doing basically another Suicide Squad. I don't know. Guys, I don't know. Because this looks, from the trailers at least, it looks conceptually almost like an exact framework for the Suicide Squad, just with monsters. And I guess that's fine, but and because every time also I do end up enjoying the projects, out of those projects that I listed, right, the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, and all 3 Guardians films, I haven't disliked any of them. I like all of them to varying degrees, but I am just hoping, and I know that Superman is coming, so maybe that's a chance for him to really break out of his quote unquote comic book movie comfort zone. I'm just hoping that I'm hoping that Creature Commandos is something a little bit different conceptually than the Suicide Squad. So there is hope number 1. Hope number 2, I'd like to see some hints towards the DCU, and I think that we're going to get some hints towards the DCU, actually just by nature of Frank Grillo showing up as Rick Flag Sr. in, he's showing up in Peacemaker Season 2, but he's also showing up in Creature Commandos, obviously, as the main character, and also he's showing up in Peacemaker Season 2. There are rumors he's showing up in Superman, so we'll get to what's his name? Rick Flag Sr. in just a little bit, but I think that, some hints. I don't need to see Superman show up in animated form. I want to know kind of some hints of the direction maybe we're heading towards a little bit. Why is it important that we're focusing on monsters here? Because the chapter 1 title of the DCU is Gods and Monsters, so I'd like to kind of get a sense of what's going on here, if that makes sense. And then hope number 3 is let's make this transition from animation to live action seem plausible. Now, we're only going to see half of that equation, right? We're only going to see the animation, but James Gunn has said that actors who are voicing their characters in animation are going to transition to their roles in live action, vice versa. So it's going to be very continuous, right? The actors, it's going to be all part of one same continuity as much as possible is what James Gunn was saying. And the thing is, right, based on the trailers for Creature Commandos, it's very stylized. It's a lot of violence and whatnot. And there are characters in there that kind of look crazy, right? I mean, just you can pull stuff off in animation that I don't think you can really pull off in live action as well. I'm not saying you can't, right? And I'm hoping that if Creature Commandos, gets a second life in live action, then I'm hoping that it's plausible that in 2026 or 2027 or whenever the Creature Commandos show up again, if they do show up in live action, that it's plausible. It's plausible enough that they can actually exist in the same universe as the Superman that we see in 2025. So those are my 3 hopes for Creature Commandos. Now, predictions-wise, let's go back to Rick Flag Sr. I think this is kind of a shot in the dark, but I kind of feel not terrible about this. I think Rick Flag Sr. might actually be a main antagonist going forward in the DCU. The only thing I have to base this off of is just the fact that he is showing up a lot in the early DCU. He's showing up in Creature Commandos. He's probably showing up in Superman for a little bit, and he's showing up in Peacemaker Season 2. He might, for all I know, he might show up in The Authority, so he might show up in Lanterns. I have a feeling that Rick Flag Sr. is going to be one of the main, maybe Earth-based villains of the DCU early on, and I think that that's going to be very interesting. I'd be very curious to see if Frank Grillo has a big role to play early on with DC in Chapter 1. So there is that. The second hope that I have for, or not hope, excuse me, this is I don't hope this is the case unless the story warrants it, but this is more of a prediction. I think that, I counted on Wikipedia, I don't know exactly who's a member of the Creature Commando squad or who's just kind of an auxiliary character, because it seems like some characters like Frankenstein are not part of Creature Commandos originally, or maybe not. So just like how Joker wasn't a part of the Suicide Squad in the first Suicide Squad, so we'll see. But let's just say that there are 10 members, just for the sake of it. I think there will be at least 7 quote-unquote main character deaths. It's a big number. It's a big number. I honestly thought about 5, but I think that James Gunn just being James Gunn, I think that at least 7 of them are gone by the end of the show. I might have way overshot that. Maybe all of them are alive by the end of the show. I don't believe that's going to happen, just knowing James Gunn and his sensibilities. But I think that I think that 7 of them are going to be gone. And the final prediction that I have for Creature Commandos is that the post-credit scene will preview Superman in some way. This is kind of a no-duh. I mean, it's a no-duh. But I think that Superman just coming up so soon, and because it's the big project, and it's obviously going to really kickstart the DCU here, I think that it's going to happen. I think that the post-credit scene, whether or not it's in live action or in animated form, we're gonna get some big hints to Superman here. I don't think that one's as groundbreaking or anything like that, but I think that it's something that I'm thinking is gonna happen. So guys, those are 3 predictions and 3 hopes for Creature Commandos. I'm really hoping it's a solid show. It's a show that we come to love and enjoy as much as we have for the other James Gunn projects. And I'd love to hear what you guys are hoping for and predicting for Creature Commandos in the comments down below.